Hey guys, what's going on? It's your friendly guildmate Cram here, and today we're going to be talking about getting ready for the Naboo raid, which was announced recently. We don't have a whole lot of info on this raid yet. We do know that it's going to be centered around Episode 1, which not my favorite of the prequels, I'll be honest with you. I know a lot of people do love this one though, and I know specifically some of you are really excited that Jar Jar's in the game. Um, Again, not my favorite character in the Star Wars universe, but I'm excited for you for this one. So let's go ahead and get into this. Before we start talking about the Naboo raid specifically, I want to talk a little bit about just some of the basic principles that I have for preparing for new raids when they're launched. And the first and foremost here, you want to start as early as possible. When we talk about investing in raid characters, you want to be able to get your return on investment for the longest possible time, and the best time to do that is before the raid starts. We don't know specifically what characters are in the game yet. I do have a slide later on who I think will be a safe build for this raid. But I would say another thing you want to do is just build good characters. Um, if you have characters that are going to be included in a raid that are going to give you bang for your buck in another game mode, those are the ones that you're going to want to build. We look back at the crate raid and also at the speeder bike raid. A lot of characters are capable of doing well in the raid specifically. So if you're going to take characters up to high relics to get a higher score, you might as well have those be characters that are going to be useful elsewhere. This raid specifically, I do think you're going to have to farm the new stuff pretty hard. We do have 5 Gungans announced, as well as Queen Amidala, which is a conquest unit, and 2 lifters for her. All those are going to be, and also the Stap. How could I forget the Stap? All of those are going to be used in the raid. We don't have a lot of existing episode 1 characters. I'm thinking that CG will probably include some others that were not necessarily key figures in episode 1. But we don't know who those characters are yet, so I wouldn't go over investing in a lot of your Galactic Republic Jedi without knowing that they're going to be included in the raid. I do encourage you to capitalize on the low-hanging fruit in your roster. So if you take a look and maybe you have an R7 Grievous and then a bunch of G12 droids, this is a great time to take those up to relics and capitalize and build that team and get some good scores in raid for your problems there. Another thing that you want to do with these raids is you want to make sure that you have enough characters to take the maximum attempts. So in the crate raid, you could do up to 5 attempts, and then obviously in the speeder bike right now we're doing 8 attempts. Even if you have characters that are at gear 8, 5 stars, you want to make sure that you have them available to you to run in the raids so you can maximize your attempts and maximize your score. This raid, again, another thing, you're going to have to invest Kairos in this raid. We have a lot of new marquees that are going to be included. That's just the price of doing business at this point, I think. To get a decent score, you're going to have to spend some Kairos. And I think it's always good practice to have at least one team that you can run at a high relic tier. When we look at the crate raid, for a lot of people, that was a Jedi Knight Revan team, and that was the difference between your account being able to score a 500K and your account being able to score 1.5 million. So highly encourage you to pick one team at least, ideally more, and just take that team up to high relics so you can run it at a high enough tier. So who do I think is safe to build for this raid? So we know that Queen Amidala and whoever the 2 marquees that are going to go alongside of her are safe to build. Obviously the Gungans will be included. There's 5 of them. All those will be high Cairo characters, so something to consider there. I think Qui-Gon Jinn is going to be safe in this. He was a key component of the first movie, so you'll be able to build him. And it would be a good idea if you are going to build him to go ahead and do his Omicron and build some characters to go alongside with him. I think we will get some additional characters off of the Jedi Council. Um, Not sure specifically which ones yet, but if that's what the route you decide to go, that'd be good to build up alongside your Qui-Gon team, and then you'll have a nice GAC team as well. And a footnote there, Kelleran back in Territory War, outstanding. So if you're going to build Qui-Gon Jinn, that team you can use in Territory War and Territory Battles. I'm sorry, Territory War and GAC for the price of 2 Omicrons and have an absolute powerhouse team in both. On the dark side, I include the droids here. I think B1, B2, and Step are all locks. And I think that the fourth one they'll include will be Droidica. I'm not 100% on IG 100. I don't know that they will include IG in this raid. They could. They could include all of them. I don't think we'll see General Grievous as well. It's possible, but I'm not expecting it. I think we're going to see something like a Newt Gunray led Separatist droids will be a team that people will be using. And I do think we'll be doing 5v5 teams in this raid as opposed to 3v3. And what I'm basing that on is that there's 5 Gungans that will work together. So speculation, everything obviously subject to change. But if you think like I do, I think it will be 5v5 teams instead of 3v3. Darth Maul, obviously another important figure in episode one. I think he'll be included. Not quite sure who he'll be used with. There's not necessarily a team. He doesn't have a whole lot of separatist synergy, so could just be a plug and play. May not be the best character in the raid. We won't know until they announce a little bit more information. I think Stap is likely to be the best value farm of all of characters in this raid. Most people are going to have at least a baseline of Grievous and Droids teams. Whether it's built up or not, you likely have at least some of those characters start up. Stap is doing incredible things in GAC with the Omicron, so that's a character that's worth investing in. You're going to get use out of them in another game mode as well. So you might as well farm them up for the raid. It's only going to cost you one Cairo heavy character and one unaccelerated farm, which is a lot better than what you're going to see with some of the other teams that I think are going to do well in this raid. And he has incredibly fast base speed, which is always great. You can get that character really moving and getting out in front of people. Monster in GAC so far. Here, I think most people are going to want to choose one of these. I don't think you're going to want to work on both of these unless you're end game or if you're having a really high Swaggle budget. They're going to be high Cairo farms, both of them. Queen Amidala a little bit less so with only 3 new characters. Queen Amidala though is a conquest unit, so you may not have her at the start of the raid, depending on how well you do in Conquest. I think if you do day one unlock, you have a good shot of having her unlocked. I'll talk a little bit later about when I'm expecting this raid to launch. Maybe there will be some existing characters to round this team out. We're not quite sure how it works yet. Maybe you could run them as a 3 piece in the raid to get some more bang for your buck there. Gungans, they're going to obviously be farmable a little bit sooner than the Queen Amidala characters will be. They were released more earlier, so they will be on nodes or in wherever they end up a little bit sooner. But there are going to be 5 high Cairo characters that you're going to have to build. So if you want to run them at a higher relic tier, just be prepared to invest in them. And the Jar Jar event, we don't know if this is going to be immediately in the journey guide. I would expect so since it's a raid character. But if you think about Jar Jar potentially being treated like Keller and Beck and being released and then running 4 months later and then never seeing him again, that could potentially be problematic for your raid plans. So take that with a grain of salt. If you do see Jar Jar go permanent, and that's the way that you want to go, just make sure um, you're willing to invest those Kairos. But if he's not going to be a permanent Journey Guide character, you better be ready for that day one unlock, which is probably going to require you to wail a little bit on some of those Gungan characters. So my final thoughts on this raid, I do think there's going to be additional characters announced, as I've said a few times here. Pay attention to those blog posts. They're going to come out quicker and quicker as we get closer to raid launch, which I'm expecting for June, July, and I'm basing that off of the time it's going to take to unlock Queen Amidala in Conquest, and also the time it's going to take them to release the number of marquees they've announced. I'm sure some of them will be Galactic Chase characters, so you're going to want to go as hard as possible on that. And then potentially consider whether you want to whale on Gungans based on that Jar Jar event or not. Another thing that I think is going to be key is learning the mechanics of the raid early. Content creators are going to be out there putting out videos. I always like the Gerbils videos for the speeder bike raid. People smarter than me. I'll work off of what they learned and make my raid scores better because of that. I'm no, I don't take the time to read the wall of text that comes with some of these kits and some of these special raid missions and special raid moves. So if somebody can explain it to me in 5 minutes, I'll go that route, and I encourage you to do the same. With that said, I just want to give a shout out to Zylok's crew. Appreciate you guys. Hoping everybody is having Nice conquest season here, nice GAC season, and getting ready for the new raid. Sorry it took this video so long to come out, and I apologize for my voice. I've been pretty sick for the last week or two, so getting to feeling better here, and I'm hoping to be a little more active in the Discord coming up here soon. If you guys have watched this long, thank you. I'll see you in the next one.